meeting to order for February 11th, 2020. It being time, at this point, I'm going to ask that we please rise and salute our American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, everybody. As I was saying, it's February 11th, 2020, it being time. We're going to open the meeting right now. It's my understanding, agenda item number 2, hearing of visitors. There are none this evening. So we'll go on to agenda number 3, which is the consent agenda. And I'm going to ask if there's any members of the school committee that want to pull out any of the matters listed A through H. Mr. D'Agostino, please.
Items B, C, and D.
B, C, and D. Members of the committee, any other additional ones? Seeing none, I'm going to ask if we can entertain a motion to take A, E, F, G, and H collectively. Could I have that in the form of a motion, please? E. Motion by Mr. Minicello. Is there a second on that? Is there a second by Mr. Sullivan? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Matter now comes before us. Agenda A, E, F, G, and H. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. It passes. Now, Mr. D'Agostino will take B, C, and D. Do you want to take those collectively or individually?
I'll take them individually.
The floor is yours, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to do a quick overview of these subcommittee meetings as has kind of traditionally been done. So we'll start with the report of the curriculum subcommittee. The curriculum subcommittee met on Tuesday, January the 14th, and we had several items that we discussed. The DESE district review, which is we're up for our 6-year district review. So this will be an in-depth, top-to-bottom look at the district. They'll focus on improvement, establishing a culture of collaboration, and then, of course, fulfilling their responsibilities. So again, Dr. Cancel presented a PowerPoint presentation about how the review works and what that process is like. And then, we talked about the types of reviews and, which review we would be up for. And again, just kind of detailed the process. We also had a discussion on the Student Opportunity Act and the 3-year plan, and that, that has to be put together for that. And then finally, under other business, we had a discussion on funding for AEDs throughout the district, as well as diversity training for our district employees. So, and that was the report of the curriculum subcommittee.
Thank you, Mr. D'Agostino. Any questions, members of the committee, on this? Seeing none, I'm going to entertain a motion relative to agenda item B.
Motion to approve agenda item B.
Second.
This motion on the floor is properly seconded by Ms. Azak. All in favor, kindly raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. B hereby passes. Mr. D'Agostino, C, please.
That would be the report of the facilities subcommittee. So the facilities subcommittee met on January 21st, and we discussed the statement of interest for a comprehensive renovation of Brockton High School, and the committee voted unanimously to move that forward and go through that process of submitting a statement of interest to the Mass Building Authority, School Building Authority. So that's kind of the first step, and then we'll take it from there to the council and so on. So that was discussed. We also, in addition, we discussed the approval of a lease for a building for an online school, and we had a discussion about the finances of that school and what the expenses would be and where revenue sources would come from on that. And so both those items were voted unanimously to be moved to the full committee. And then finally, we talked about the opening of the community center at North Middle School as well. and, had a presentation from the volunteers that were behind putting that together. So that concludes the report of the Facilities Committee.
Thank you. That was an awesome night at North. It really was so well attended. Each and
Yeah.
every one of you that attended was great. Citizens that were there. That was a game changer, so.
Absolutely.
Any questions from the committee relative to subsection C on the agenda? Seeing none, I entertain a motion on C, please.
Motion to approve, C.
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Sullivan, and it was actually seconded by both Ms. Azak and Mrs. Sullivan. All in favor, kindly raise your hand. All opposed? Motion carries. C hereby passes. We'll go on to D. Mr. D'Agostino, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Then we have the report of the Finance Subcommittee. The Finance Subcommittee met January 29th, and we discussed, the first agenda item was to discuss reinstating and refunding the Gateway to College program. We had a discussion about the revised tuition schedule. It is coming at a substantially reduced cost than it did in prior years. We talked about the number of kids that could potentially participate in that program and the value of the program, and unanimously voted to allocate the funds to reinstate that program. Again, next, we had a discussion again about the Student Opportunity Act, and the superintendent filled us in on, again, the update of the process and how that would go. We talked a little bit about, the plan that has to be submitted to DESE, and we're on an April 1st timeline for that. And in the midst of that, all the community meetings and meetings with stakeholders that have to happen. So we get an update from the superintendent on the progress there. And then, again, finally, we had a discussion on the 3-year district plan. That kind of goes together with the previous item. And then we had a kind of an opening discussion on the FY21 budget, and looked at the cherry sheet, looked at the past 6 years of cuts, so that we can start to look at what we want to bring back, and also reviewed the key dates for the Student Opportunity Act. And then at that, I think that that about, wait a minute. Oh, we also did have a discussion about busing and, whether we wanted to look at making some different decisions there as well. And that concludes the January 29th finance report.
Thank you, Mr. D'Agostino. Members of the committee, any questions relative to agenda item D? Seeing none, I entertain a motion.
Motion to approve, D.
Motion was made by Mr. Sullivan, properly seconded by Mrs. Sullivan. All in favor, kindly raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. Hereby passes. D. Before we go on to communications, I do want to recognize Mr. Richard Bath, former Ward 2 School Committee member. Thank you for being here, Mr. Bath, and also the President of the BEA, Kim Gibson. Thank you for being here, and all of the Brocktonians that are here tonight. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. We'll go on to the next section, which is section 4, which is communications. Any communications before us tonight? None? Okay. Move on to subsection 5, which is the report of Superintendent of Schools, Mike Thomas. Mr. Thomas.
Thank you, Mayor. First, there's some recognitions that we want to give out tonight. So I want Jazzy Manley and Taylor Santos from the Gilmore School, if you can come down to the front table. They are both paraprofessionals at the Gilmore and also have Principal O'Brien join them. Welcome. You can sit right in those 2 chairs. You're the guest of honor. Yes. So back in November, these 2 heroes were monitoring and working at the Gilmore School, and they were supervising 2nd grade lunch when they noticed a 2nd grader in distress, choking. So they jumped into action to save this. It was a student, was a male or female?
Male.
Young boy. So they jumped into action to obviously tend to the student that was in distress, and I'm going to let them explain to you because I don't want to lose the luster of this, but what happened, and, because they were there, so they can tell the story much better than I can, but I wanted to make sure they were recognized tonight for not only what they do every day at the Gilmore for supporting our students and supporting our teachers, but obviously, the paraprofessionals do a ton in our schools, and what they did in this situation is heroic. So we thank you for being here, and if you can actually tell us what happened that day, that'd be great.
Go ahead. Okay, so, well, first of all, thank you so much for this. This is crazy. But, so basically, we're just doing our lunch duty, which we do every day. It's a big cafeteria, tons of kids. And I was just doing my part of, letting the kids go into the actual line to get their food. And I heard my name being yelled, Miss Santos, help us, Miss Santos. And I look over, and I mean, the kids are always yelling your name. So I just look over, and I see one of the kids just hunched over, and he's not breathing. And I'm like, he's a jokester. So I'm like, is he joking? Like, I don't know if this is real. But I ran over to him, and as soon as I saw that he was not joking, he was just struggling, I just picked him up, and I turned him over, and I just started doing the Heimlich over and over. And it was scary because it wasn't working. It was not working at all. So immediately I looked up, and I made eye contact with her across the cafeteria, and I just yelled for her to run over and help me.
Which I turned around very slow, might I add. I was like, yes, who needs something today? But at that point, I saw the panic in her eyes and through the kids. So, I don't know, something just triggered. Just go, give him the Heimlich, make sure he can breathe. He's okay. And we carried him out, made sure everybody else was safe. We kind of you just jump to it. You don't even panic. You think about if this was your kid or your family member, and you go. So, God's timing, great purpose. Just glad I had my partner.
Yeah, seriously, because it wasn't working for me, and it worked for me.
And then we went about our day.
And the student is doing very well. No issues at all, so.
Today.
Principal O'Brien, do you want to add anything?
Essentially, both Jazzy and Taylor are always there to do whatever they need to do without question. They don't bat an eyelash. They just jump and spring to action no matter what it is. And the job of a paraprofessional is so much more than what the name says. The whole faculty and saying that they're reliable, they're always there, their relationships with kids are so critical to what we do each and every day, and also knowing that, they're selfless in what they do too. There's never a complaint, there's never a question. They just say okay to support every child and teacher and family member in the building. And the best thing is as peppy and cheerful as they are talking about such a frightening situation, that's how they are each and every single day. And it's really what keeps us going, especially on, the most challenging of days, especially the week before a vacation, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was
So,
right before vacation.
They're wonderful, yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, and also, might I add, both Brockton Public Schools graduates.
Of course.
And I think that's the same year, right? It
Same
means
year.
so much, so I'd give them another round.
We have certificates to present you with tonight, the mayor and I. So
Absolutely. So one thing I just want to say is, so you make a difference every day, right? You're the champions within the city of champions, but on that specific day, you saved a life, so you're heroes, true heroes. So on behalf of the city of Brockton, I just want to thank you for making a difference every day, but specifically on that day, you saved a young boy, so thank you, thank you.
before we get, obviously, anybody's welcome to, before we give out the certificates, but if there's any other comment.
Thank you doesn't really say that much. I mean, you just save a life. And again, you go on about your day not expecting to have that. So thinking, thinking quickly in saving that child's life. We thank you again and again, because we know you just never know on a daily basis what is going to get put in front of you. And who would have thought that day that you would have been saving his life? So, we're proud of you. Thank you so much. And BHS alum?
Yes.
Yes?
Same
So
class.
And it's wonderful to see our alumni being part of our BPS family, so thank you again.
I, again, want to thank you for doing such a wonderful thing. And, somebody recently had commented I don't remember which meeting it was, about, we say the city of champions and it's time to stop living in the past with Rocky Marciano. Well, in 2020, here are our champions, here are our heroes. Because of the two of you, this little boy's still alive, and that's huge. So I just, after fairly recently hearing that comment about living in the past, well, here we are in 2020, and it's the two of you, So thank you for everything you do every day and for what you did on that day. And really I want to mention all the paras. Like, I think that people don't really realize just how important you all are and just how much you all do in our schools every day, and just what a difference you make every day. But certainly on this day, you made a huge difference in somebody's life, so thank you.
Thank you.
Come on up.
Mike, can I?
Oh, sorry, Mr. Mancello.
We want to thank you. The number one job, I think, of all of us in terms of adults in the school system is to keep our kids safe. And you certainly did that. You basically kept a calm and cool head, and obviously called your best friend in the room when you needed her. And because of that, what could have been a real tragedy is really a celebration. So again, we want to thank you. And from the bottom of my heart, I mean, there's nothing I love than making sure our kids are safe. And this really is a great story. I know that Gilmore cafeteria quite well. There's a lot of activity going on in there, and just thank goodness you were in the right place at the right time, and again, you kept your wits about you, and you did your training. I mean, that's really important here, that you both knew, try the Heimlich, and when it wasn't working for you, it did work for you. Who knows, you may have just dodged it a little bit, and then you put the finishing touch on, or what have you, but good teamwork, and thank you so much. I'm sure the parents feel the same.
Yeah, we're very close to them too, so
Yeah.
it hit us.
Sullivan.
Yeah, I was just wondering, well, number one, I wanted to thank you for a job well done. But I was wondering how you learned how to do that. Was that part of your training, or?
So the way I learned it is my brother, my 16-year-old brother, is actually a lifeguard. So he had taught it to me. And he's always like, you have to know how to do these things. You never know when you're going to need to do it. So my little brother helped me save
Was right,
a life.
you never know.
Yeah. Yep.
And I learned it, we own a competitive cheer program, gonna plug myself, sorry. Brockton Youth Cheerleading / 5-Star Athletics. So we've had years of cheer training, and while you're sitting there doing the training, you're like, this is hours long, never thinking you're gonna use it. So my kind of coaching reflexes came into ability, and I've actually been trained through Brockton Public Schools CPR classes, so doing those and making sure I'm recertified just came right about, like a natural instinct.
Good job well done, thank you.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you.
That's my niece.
Thank you. Superintendent Thomas, do you think that perhaps we should have a discussion about a training course with regard to, employees of the public schools, maybe perhaps at the beginning of each year, in terms of, general first aid, and certainly having the Heimlich being one component of it? I mean,
Yep.
I'm sure there is some grant money out there, and/or it wouldn't surprise me if one of the school nurses would come in and help, at least train people in the Heimlich before the start of each year.
Yep.
So maybe we could have somehow that discussion, or make a note of making sure something like that happens with training.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
All right, so next, I want to bring up Chloe Livingston and her grandmother Sandra Livingston, and Dad Michael. You can come on up. Oh, you can come up, come on up.
That's my grandmother.
That's great.
Her dad's here too, Michael? Come on up and sit in the front, please. And, yeah, I also want to have Stephanie McCrae, her, Chloe's history teacher, come on up. You can sit in the front row as well. Stephanie Landerholm is here as well, our department head of history at Brockton High School. Thank you for being here. No, you can stay there. It's okay. So I'm going to read the letter that was sent by, a part of the letter sent by the Massachusetts Historical Society to Dr. Murray, and I also were CC'd as well. So this was congratulations to Brockton High students and teachers for their hard work with the National History Day. And I spent 10 years at Brockton High and the amazing work that the History Department has always done with History Day. So we thank you for the teachers and how much you put into that every year, and also the students. But this year, they were very impressed with a project completed by Chloe. And it was featured in the Enterprise on January 20th of this past January. She made a documentary film, Sandra Livingston, who's her grandma. And it was called The Struggle for Equal Rights, which explores the civil rights movement. And she will compete with this project on Saturday, March 7th in the regional competition at Foxborough High School, so congratulations on that. Chloe interviewed her grandmother, using Sandra as a primary source. And this personal connection helped Chloe better understand the context for activism of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Ruby Bridges. So this was an amazing project. I read the article in the Enterprise, and then it was sent out by Jess Hodges, our communications director, sent it out district-wide, so we made sure everybody in the district knew about this. We're so proud of you. We thank you for this great project that you did, for making not only Brockton High proud, but also the Brockton Public Schools proud. So we're thrilled to have you here tonight, and it's such an amazing project. We thank you. So could you just tell us how you put it all together and give us highlights of the documentary, and just tell us a little bit about it? You have to press that button. Thank you.
Do I go? Hello? Oh, okay. At first, I'm like interested in like World War II and like the Nazis and the Jews. So it was U.S. history, but then I was saying like that's not really U.S. history. So like it's part of it, but not like really. So then I was like, oh, let me do like something to do with African Americans. So I thought about the civil rights movement. And like I talked to my teacher about it, and I was like, oh, my grandmother was like part of that time, so maybe I should like tie her into it. And she like encouraged me to tie her into it. And like I didn't want to do like a board or exhibit, because like I'm a visual learner, and like anything to do with schoolwork, I always go to YouTube. Or if you know Miss Chan, she does videos, and she like uploads them to like help you. So I chose a documentary because like I feel like in order to get my point across and get like what I wanted to say, and I was like, let me interview my grandmother also. I can't really put that on a board or a website. So I interviewed her, and then I put it all into like iMovie and made the documentary. But also like what I like wanted to do was like learn more about like my people, because I am African American. So like I didn't know about like Ruby Bridges, and like I knew about Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, but like I wanted to go like deeper in their history. And so I got more information about them, because like they teach about it in school, but like I didn't go to like a Brockton public school. I went to a private school, so I don't really know like what was it, how was it taught in like middle school, but like where I went was like it wasn't really covered. So it was covered but not like really into it. So that's where I wanted to go deeper, and like maybe one day this could go like really far and like people could like watch it, like, so yeah.
That's great. Grandma, do you have anything to add for us? It's really happy to have you here. We appreciate you coming tonight.
Thank you. I was proud.
There you go.
I was proud that Chloe asked me to participate in a project. I really didn't know the extent of the project other than when she was interviewing me. And Clint Eastwood, Ron Howard, they don't have anything on this child. My taskmaster. She really drilled me. But, I mean, she was learning and she was asking me questions and I was telling her my experiences. And she had only 10 minutes that she had to do it. So some of the articles, some of the things I talked about was not in her documentary, but when the Enterprise came out and they interviewed us, some of the things was picked up then. But I thought it was really good that she did do that project, whether it was with me or whomever, that she learned more about the struggles that the blacks face through the years coming up into even today. And like one of her goals was, that she didn't mention, was that she wanted the children of today to understand what our past was, and what it is today, and what it can be and should be and will be tomorrow. And that it was bad back then, but it still is not where it should be, but it is a lot better than what it was. And I'm very proud that she came to Brockton, because like one of the things Chloe said, I hope it's okay, but she said when she was going to the
Private school.
what school?
Private school.
Private school, sorry, that it was predominantly white. And so she straightened her hair so she can fit in and be a part of the crowd. But when she came to Brockton and she saw the hue of colors and the different types of hair, she felt proud that she could wear her hair naturally. So I think it was good, and I wish that other children, lots of children and adults can see this documentary to realize the struggle that the United States has gone through. This is a great country, and no matter what we went through, it's still a great country, and I wouldn't want to be in any other country than this country here. And I'm glad that my grandchildren are here. And my children didn't go through as much as the people in my era, but they went through enough. And today the kids go through things, but I still believe, and Chloe said it herself, it is getting better. It will get better. Thank you.
Truly amazing. You did an amazing job, and we really appreciate it. And the one thing that it's great to see is the young people learn from their parents and grandparents, because it's something that's a little lost nowadays, that but the pride that parents and grandparents have, and it's time for high school students and younger students to take the time to learn from them, and because there's no learning like that. So and this obviously this is fitting, obviously, for as we celebrate Black History Month. So it's very important for the Brockton Public Schools, and this just showcases the great work that our teachers do at all levels, including Brockton High School, but how hard the students work. So we really appreciate everything you put into this project. It really is great. We appreciate it.
Can I say one other thing? I appreciate the fact that her teachers allowed her to do this and encouraged her and worked with her. And it's a testament to your school system.
Chloe, I just want to say thank you, because we learned from our past to better the future. And so for you to do it in a personal way with your grandmother makes it that much more special. The history of America, is great, but we need to do better together. So I love the fact that your grandmother just shared with us the story, just as simple as having your natural hair, because Brockton has always been such a great community of diversity. It's what makes Brockton, Brockton, right? So I just want to thank you. and I'm glad you're not at the private school anymore. I want you to remember us when you're in Hollywood as a famous filmmaker, because honestly, you know, Spielberg started somewhere. So again, thank you for sharing with us your story and your grandmother's story, and we look forward to bright future ahead for you. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, just another thing. I'm also proud that I did this project because then after she interviewed me, and then another woman interviewed me. What was her name? Corlin? Yeah, Corlin interviewed me, and then I was at the basketball game. It was like 2 weeks ago, and then the photographer Mark came up to me and was like, "Oh, it's gonna go national. Like the AP press picked it up," and I'm like, "You're lying. Like, this isn't true." I'm like, "Really? Like, really?" And then we kept checking every single day. And we're like, I don't think this is true. And then, I don't know where, like, Washington Times picked it up, and you, like, type in my name, and then all this, like, they just picked up the article, and, yeah, I hope this goes far.
Go to Google and you find her.
Cynthia, please.
Thank you. I just want to say one of our biggest goals in the district is cultural competency learning, and this is just a great example of one. I know you talked a lot about being able to relate to the history or the materials that you are being presented with in school, and I felt the same way being your age. I actually was very invested in the civil rights movement. I made an argument, I don't know if you want to look into it. I made an argument that I think the catalyst of the civil rights wasn't Rosa Parks, was actually Emmett Till. But that was such an ugly story that we don't want to look at it. We want to look at Rosa Parks. So I just want to say, like, this is a great platform that you're giving other peers and other people like your brothers and sisters coming forth, you know, to bring back that history. And like Mayor Sullivan just said, right, learning from the history, right, to make the future better. So thank you so much.
I just wish I had more time because, like, the 10 minutes, but there's, like, so many more people that were part of, like, the civil rights, but it's just, like, if I had, like, 15 minutes or maybe 20, like, I could get so much more stuff. And this topic was really, really big. Like, I like remember going through, like, the cafeteria, and I saw people were doing, like, the civil rights movement, but they were just doing, like, a little topic, like they were just doing, like, Martin Luther King or, like, Ruby Bridges. But, like then I look at me, like, I did the whole entire thing, but I still didn't cover, like, everything, which I wish I did.
Next time.
College.
I think I also learned that it wasn't just black people who were involved in the civil rights. It was white people as well.
Mr. Thomas, can I just say, I love Brockton High. It was probably one of the greatest decisions we've ever made as a family, leaving a private school. We've always been invested in the city. I've coached softball, and I felt very safe. I know Lieutenant Badar over there, I knew my daughter would be safe over here. But just the teachers, I've coached with the teachers, so I knew that they were vested. It wasn't just I'm going here for a 9 to 5 and back to my own community. I know Coach Fidalgo. I know Coach Barboni. I know them very well. And when I see the product of her effort and her confidence grow, one of my best friends, Cheryl Green, her daughter is her best friend, Caroline. We sit back and say, wow, this was like the greatest decision that we've ever made. And I just say kudos to you, Ms. Santos, and you're not Jazzy, right? Jazzy's for saving that young child's life. But it's just another testament how much you guys love these kids and invest in them. And I'm a tough guy, but I started getting choked up, you know? And thank you. That's
We
all.
thank you for saying that. We really appreciate it. We wish you the very best of luck on
you.
March 7th, so I'm sure you'll do great. Yep. Go ahead. Yep.
We're so proud of you, absolutely proud of you. And this is an amazing tribute for your grandmother as well, because you will always have this, and you have that special bond just by interviewing her and seeing her growing up as a child through her eyes, which is amazing. And I see that with my nieces, with my mom. So this is going to be something special that you'll always look back at. And why not do the 15-minute video? Where can we see the documentary? We should have had it tonight to view it. We'd love to see it if it's on, can it be on YouTube? Because it's part of the competition. I don't think
The
so.
thing is like, I don't, it's not like, I want to go as, like, it's not copyright, is that the word?
Okay.
Written, copywritten, and I
told her not to.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that's why we couldn't show it yet.
Yeah, no, because there's still competition, and I've gone through with my nieces. I went to NHD in, I believe, was it Maryland? We attended Maryland, and it's an amazing, amazing event. And you see so much talent, and you are going to be representing us. So we are proud of you, and thank you to your teacher, because without our teachers, our kids cannot get to this point. And I saw it firsthand. The teachers, support you, and they're always going to be there with you to push you and be there to always guide you to keep going further. Sky's the limit. So we would love to see it maybe after the competition ends, even maybe like a private viewing or something.
Yeah,
But I'd be honored to view that. All right, we wish you luck on the 7th.
Thank you.
Best of luck. I'm sure she'll make it to June. I'm sure you will. And if you don't, we're still proud of you.
Absolutely.
Keep trying.
Thank you. Nope. Oh, we do have some. You have it all covered. One for Chloe and.
Thank you.
Melinda's got it covered. She got it.
To stand in the middle, Star. All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All righty. I'll text you these. I have your-
Good luck.
Thank you, good luck.
Thank you. Next, we're going to have our student report. Georgina Eunice was going to come up and give us what's going on at Brockton High School. Nice to see you again.
It's nice to see you too.
Thanks for being here.
Good evening, Mayor, Superintendent, and school committee members. Thank you for having me here tonight. On Friday, January 31st, and Saturday, February 1st, Brockton High School's Drama Club put on their annual FebFest show. This year, the students performed 3 short comedies entitled Check Please, The Competition Piece, and Hard Candy. In the past, I've participated in the FebFest production, and it's a rigorous schedule to put together 3 plays in less than a month. Also, this year at the 2020 Boston Globe Scholastic Art Awards, 10 BHS students were acknowledged. Of those 10, 4 students placed. The students received 5 gold keys, 1 silver key, and 8 honorable mentions in a variety of mediums. Last Thursday, a group of students got the opportunity to have a roundtable discussion with Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito. They discussed the Respectfully campaign, and the students suggested ways the campaign could better reach students like them. The campaign focuses on the awareness surrounding sexual assault and domestic violence. Last Friday, two student athletes, Lena Marion and Taylor Campbell, represented Brockton High at the Women in Sports Day at Faneuil Hall. Lastly, next week, February 17th to Friday, February 21st, is winter recess for all students. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'm going to bring up June Saber McGuire. So today and tomorrow, a team of us, myself, along with Kim Gibson, and too many others to mention everyone. Ethan, Dr. Cancel is with us. Sharon is also with us. So this is the multi-tiered system of support, correct?
So I can name them all. So
I
we
actually
had-
can name them.
We had Mike,
Do it.
myself, Karen McCarthy, Juliana Andrade, Kathy Ledger, Stephen Shaw, Ethan Cancel, Kelly Jones, Laurie Mason, Kim Gibson, and tomorrow Sharon Walder will be joining us. And so it was a great day. It was actually
the second of a series of sessions that the department is planning, and it's called the Massachusetts Tiered System of Supports. And so today we were there with, I think, about 30 other districts at least.
There's about 500 people there.
There were about 500 people there. But it really gives us an opportunity to get together as districts across the state, and certainly with our own team, to look at what the state is doing to support districts. And a couple of the breakout sessions that we went to today, Mike and I actually went to a middle school scheduling session. We went to another session that was focused on professional development. And so at the end, what was really most beneficial is that we all had an opportunity to work as a team to talk about planning for the district. And that's really important time for us. And so tomorrow we're there again all day, and we're looking forward to it. And tomorrow will be completely focused on the Student Opportunity Act. And so just a couple of other things is just the professional development sessions, I think, were really particularly important for us.
So a lot of the districts are there, and some of them do present best practices. So, and it is working together, obviously, for not only improving, obviously, instruction in the classroom, but it also does it with, in conjunction with the union. So it's, it's actually a team effort, and they offer a lot of different good workshops. And pretty much most of the department is there supporting this, so.
Quite a few people from the department that are in the district working with us are actually present at these sessions, and so that's also beneficial for us.
Absolutely.
But again, tomorrow we're really looking forward to the focus of the sessions, because it connects to what you'll hear tonight from Mr. Bath, which is about the planning we're doing around the Student Opportunity Act. So I think it is definitely time well spent, and I enjoy being with people from the district outside of the district, because it gives us time to talk about things that we don't necessarily get to talk about all the time when we're within the district.
Absolutely. Thank you, June. I appreciate it. Next, we're going to have Dr. Ethan Cancel. I think we have to queue up the, he's going to quickly go over the district review that is coming up on, it starts on March 2nd, Monday, March 2nd, and ends on Thursday, March 5th. And Ethan is going to go over, we've put the calendar together. There will be some edits to the calendar as we go forward, as we can make, but he's going to go over this calendar for you so you know what that week looks like. And what they're going to be coming in and who they're going to be interviewing and things, obviously, the subjects they'll be discussing. And so I have Ethan go over the calendar. And this is also will be in your packet this Friday as well. And I know that you know what your interview dates are. So, but this is for the whole district, the calendar. So Ethan, if you can walk us through, please.
All right. I will walk us through. Hopefully I won't take too long. But as you can see, it kicks off. We have 3 main rooms that are going to, so if you're wondering where you're going to be interviewed, it's either their team will work in the Office of Teaching and Learning conference room, which is upstairs. The superintendent's conference room, Mike has generously given up his conference room for the duration. And then the Crosby conference room, which we used to call the Nissel room or the Nisselarium. But we kick it off. The executive team meets with them in the morning, and you'll see that they are either doing a document review or classroom visits. They look at a lot of the documents that we have. So they'll look at, they'll take a random sample of evaluations. They'll just look at the things that we gave them. But they also will be conducting classroom visits. The first real interview is with Mike, and we'll also have a slew of the Office of Teaching and Learning there. So see how that goes. Then we go into the assessment interview, which will be lots of fun. We have HR coming next. So you can see these are pretty full days, and the interviews are pretty lengthy. and they have a lot of questions that they ask. They basically just want to find out what we're doing. And again, I keep saying it, this year, this is a new focus. This year, they really want to focus on what you're doing for equity in the district. So this is an excellent opportunity for us to talk about what we have done, what we're planning on doing, and where we need to improve, where we need to get better. So we have Aldo and Chris Correa, who is one of Aldo's finance people. They'll be doing the financial and asset management. Then we go to the student support, and you see Sharon with a large crew of people. We'll have the the BEA. We have Kim and Yolanda there. They're trying to get a large number of different perspectives on the same basic questions. How do you experience it? How do you experience it? How do you experience it? And luckily, you guys get to participate as well. Next day, the second, you'll see that there's a list of Brockton High students who will be included. It will be a wide sample, freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, all different grades, all different students. We'll have we have Mike again. The superintendent gets to spend a lot of time getting interviewed. We have the second assessment team, and this is more of a district focus. So the first day, you have more of the, the district focus. The second, you have a school-based focus. Our assessment team, we have representatives from all the different levels, different schools. So that'll be pretty strong. We have the HR interview, which is going to deal with the EdEval system. We have Aldo and Ken and more financial stuff. You can see that we have a second round with the student support, second round with leadership and governance. You'll see a wide variety of the different levels. And there is one other that we should point out. The town also gets included. In our case, it's a city, but they call it town. So you'll see our CFO for the city, and that comes in. They look to see, is there a good relationship? Does the city have a good working relationship with the school? In some cases they do, in some cases they don't. Large variety of levels, and this may look like a huge number of people, but the way it's going to work out in these two, the student support and the leadership and governance, they're most likely going to break out elementary and secondary, just so you're aware of it. We do have some teacher focus groups. We have them running at Brockton High for the high school, and we've done this to make it make sense for teacher schedules. The middle school will be at West, and then the elementary folks will come on back to Brockton High. That is open. That's an open invitation. Any Brockton public school teacher, we do not pick. Anyone who wants to attend can attend. It is not part of their working day. It is completely voluntary, their choice. We will have a parent focus group over at West, and we will have, if needed, a second interview with Kim and if anyone else she would like to have with her. So then we go on to the next day, day 3, which is really, it's the last major day. You see that you have this second one, the principals. You have now the focus with HR is going to be on professional development. So you see June and a whole crew of her people who work on this topic. You'll have Mike yet again, the third interview, Mike. June will get to have a third interview as well with her team. And you see that you have different people. We're trying to give them different perspectives. and the third view of student support, but this is specifically on family and community engagement. So you'll see Marcia at the Parent Information Center. You'll see Soraya Presame, Soraya DeBarros. Large, they really have a wide-ranging group. Here it is, 4:30 to 5:30. That's your moment to shine. It's the school committee interviews. They will most likely break you into, so it'll be sub-quorum groups, so you do not have to announce this publicly. It is not a quorum, so it's the public notice does not apply. But you also get to basically tell them your role in supporting the school district and how you battle through the budget every year and the efforts that you do to support us with the policies. And then day 4 is really a wrap-up day. There's still more classroom visits. They visit a lot of classrooms, and they're going to give us a nice summary at the end of this all. And I think that's some of the best feedback they give you, because you can say, oh, we do this and we do that, but they're actually going to show you what they see in the classroom. And so it's always good to have an outside set of eyes. If you paid for it, it would cost a huge amount of money to get this many people into this number of rooms. So it's I think it's good feedback. It's a very brief debrief, and it is brief, with Mike, and they basically they've gotten away from giving their first impressions. They used to do that, and then the superintendent would be led to believe that something would happen. It's not in the final report. People's feelings would get hurt. So they basically don't say very much now. And then about 3 or 4 months, we'll get a report back. So that's the plan. It's very comprehensive. And people say, what is the best way to prepare for this? Mike has been very clear about this. You say what you know. You tell what you know. You tell the truth. You tell the story. You can't hide anything. They're looking under every single nook and cranny. They're going to look. They have tons of data, and they're going to see what they see. And they'll ask us good questions, the questions that we should be focused on. And, in the end, it typically doesn't surprise us. Typically, we know. We went through, there was the self-assessment, and I thought that was revealing. We were disappointed at times when we said to ourselves, we really didn't nail this one. We have work to do. But we'll see, and hopefully we'll learn something, and we'll be able to build on that.
Quick question on the March 3rd, 1 to 2:30 p.m. I saw it was Council President Shirley Azak, Troy Clarkson, and Marty Brophy. I didn't see my name listed anywhere. I didn't see my name listed anywhere there.
Well,
That's okay if they don't want to talk to me, but I suspect they probably do.
We will definitely make a note of that. Oh, boy, I'm really sorry.
No worries.
We figure you'd leave you out. Yeah. Just kidding. I can't even find that.
Ethan, I have a question. So we have our time slot. How long is the interview going to be with the school committee members? 'Cause
About
it's
an hour.
Just about an hour?
It's about
Okay.
an hour. Yeah,
I had you put it into 6 just in case it went over.
Yeah, because it was
Just in
okay.
case.
Yeah, I was like, okay, is it a 2-hour?
You never know. I mean,
yeah, they are
try to
always
keep a
happy
tight
to stay
schedule,
later,
but
but it's typically an hour.
Ethan, could you go back to the day we're coming in? Was it day 3?
you see that? I can't find that.
I was wondering about the times. Oh, it is?
Yeah.
4:30.
4:30.
There it is.
6 o'clock or 6:30? 6 o'clock, I believe they had it.
4:30.
4:30, 4:30 to 6.
Where do we go? Is it here?
No, it'd be at Central
I'll
Office.
be right at Central.
Okay.
You'd be right in the my conference room, and then they'll break you up from there.
So we all show up together? Is it,
Yes, 4:30
and
that
they'll split us
day.
up?
Yeah, and then they figure out there's about 8 people, and they'll split you up and probably take you in by 2 and take you to different rooms for interview.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Next, we're going to have a presentation on the new Student Opportunity Act and give an update. So I want to ask Mr. Bath to come up. So when Richard was on serving out the term that for Lisa Plant, obviously he was very engaged in what was going on, especially with this information that was coming out about the new budget and the new Student Opportunity Act. So he wanted, obviously, to stay involved, so he offered his services, and I'm glad he did, because he and I, Ethan, June, have been working on this PowerPoint to kind of put things together, narrow it down, and give it a focus. So we wanted to make sure it was done at a school committee meeting, obviously, that's televised, so the public could see this as well. And also, as you know, we'll talk about this in the PowerPoint, that we'll definitely be doing public outreach. So there'll be teacher focus groups. I'm doing a big presentation with Kim this Thursday for all staff members. That's not only teachers, but all staff members were invited. We'll send out another invitation for them tomorrow. We sent out a text message to parents. We put a bubble on our website, Student Opportunity Act, and everything's been translated. We put frequently asked questions. We put the summary sheet. We put as much on there as we've been giving out, so people have a place to go and see that. We've emailed these documents out to all our users in the district, all employees, so they have it. So Richard was able to take all of that information and put it into one PowerPoint that kind of will help us all understand this in a real concise way, and what we need to do to prepare for the report that we have to submit by April 1st. So, Mr. Bath, I really appreciate your help, and I know that how much time you've put into this, so we're going to let you take it away.
Well, I told you, I'm in this for the long haul, so I just don't shy away from anything that has to do with the Brockton Public Schools. But before I begin, I just want to say that I had the opportunity of working with 3 incredible people here to pull this snapshot, because what you're going to get is a snapshot. So don't look for anything in detail, because we're still working on it. Because we got this, the Opportunity Act template 2 weeks late. And so we were supposed to get this right after the superintendent came back from the superintendent's meeting, and we didn't get it. And then we were supposed to get it the following week, and we didn't get it. And then we were supposed to get it the following week, and we didn't get it, and we finally got it. And the beauty of this for DESE is, and for the state legislature is, they didn't give us any extra time on the back end. So even though we're 2 weeks late with them giving us this information, we still have to present this and give it to them on April 1st. Okay, so we still have to do some catch up. But I worked with 3 incredible people, and I'm going to discount the superintendent because I think he's incredible anyway. But June Saber McGuire, Ethan Cancel, and Aldo Petronio. I had the pleasure of working with these guys, and boy, I got to tell you, what a wealth of information. And without them, we're not going to be able to, we wouldn't be able to pull this thing together so quickly. So what I'm going to do is, this is not a long presentation. There's only 8 slides in here that really kind of focus on what the Student Opportunity Act is. So let's get into it. So here it is here. Massachusetts will invest the $1.5 billion over the next 7 years, which I found very interesting. And the superintendent and I had a conversation, along with Aldo, even though we've got to spend this money 1.5 over 7 years. They want us to put it together a 3-year plan. And I'm not sure what math plan that Desi is on, but it didn't really make too much sense for us. The law requires the state to spend an additional 1.4 billion before inflation on Chapter 70 aid paid to the districts. They're going to also infuse special education circuit breaker to the tune of 90 million, an additional 10 million on Education Innovation Trust Fund. It does not outline a year-by-year funding schedule, but requires full investment to be made by fiscal year 2027. And that's where Aldo comes in on this. This is way above my pay grade, but it is not for Aldo. So here's what it looks for. DESE has established this template and wants each of the districts to commit to 4 different categories for the Student Opportunities Act. And again, they're not looking for a comprehensive plan, so you're not going to get one from us. They're not interested in it because you're doing that with the sustainability and you're doing that with the visit that you've got coming from DESE that Ethan just went over. So they're not looking for all of this. What they want us to do is to look at doing a few things well. So we're going to keep it simple, okay? And so the template is focused on 4 commitments, and we will go into this later in the presentation. Focus on student subgroups, using evidence-based programs to close gaps, monitor success with outcome metrics and targets, and engaging all families, including community stakeholders. The beauty of what this is that these guys, this team that works with the superintendent, have done a lot of this work, and now already because they're on top of all of this. That's why I say they are an invaluable resource to the school district. So what we're going to do, and what I've been asked to do, is to go over this stuff with them, and we're going to come up with a plan that's going to make sense, and it's not going to glaze your eyes over. Okay, so that's what we're really trying to accomplish here. So there were some suggestions that they put forward in implementing this successful planning. Focus on evidence-based planning. Okay, so we're going to choose several programs that we are going to really focus on. We're not going to focus on like many programs. It's in June. Saber Maguire has already identified some of the programs that we're going to look for. Thoughtful engagement of our community. And this has got to reflect student needs as identified by the community. So you've done this before, and to this end, the superintendent and I sat down and we put together we've got going on, and we're going to use this one as one of them, because what we don't want to do, because we are in a crunch time, we don't want to keep on putting together different meeting bases when we have stuff that's already in the mill. So we're going to use that, and we're going to dovetail on that. And then lastly, we're going to focus on implementation, but that's after we get together with everybody and pull all the information that we need to write a comprehensive report that has to go to DESE and to the legislature by April 1st. And in fact, they were very specific about that. No later than 11:59 p.m. April 1st. And I thought that was quite clever of them. They really got together and really found out how to tell time. So that was pretty cool. So here we go. So this is the first commitment of the student subgroups. And Mrs. Saber and I Mrs. Saber Maguire sat and we looked at this. And so what we want to do is to identify English language learners, special education, and students not meeting grade level expectation. And so, and the reason why you don't see a narrative there is because we're still compiling the information. This is a snapshot for you guys to at least bring you up to snuff on what we've done in the short period of time that we got all of this. And I will make available copies of all of this for you guys. And once we really sit down and pull this whole Opportunity Act template together, you will get a real comprehensive view of this. Okay? So using evidence-based programs to close the gap. So the DESE wants programs and resources. So with sitting down with Ethan and with June, we came up with the bilingual education, curriculum development, science, mathematics, expansion of pre-K, instructional technology, and ELA. And so those are the programs that we, for the time being, those are the programs that we're looking at. Now, could this change? It could, because we haven't had the time to sit down and talk to this. And June and Ethan, anytime you want to jump in on this, feel free. The resources that we're going to use is edreport.org, Curate, Applied Science, Carnegie Mathematics Solution, and Leadership Academy. So those are the resources that will help us come up with, they will use this to create the evidence basis that we need to discuss these programs. Okay, so the monitoring success with outcome metrics and targets, and this is where it doesn't get any better than Ethan Cancel when it comes to this, because he really pulled this together in just sitting there and brainstorming, and he came up with all of this in like a nanosecond. So we're going to use scaled scores for ELA, math, and science. Student growth percentile for ELA and math. Chronic absenteeism. Graduation rate and advanced coursework. Okay, because that's the one thing that we sometimes forget about, you know, all of the advanced coursework that our students do. Okay. Custom district metrics, seal of biliteracy, and percentage of students in the arts. We talked, Ethan and I talked about this. We think that this is incredibly important, that art is included in what we do. And you just heard from the student report about what our students have accomplished using art. And I have this saying that I use with, I used to use with all of my students when I was teaching at the university. And it's real simple. Students will hear what they see. It's as simple as that. And incorporating art into what we do in terms of curriculum makes all the sense in the world. So that's commitment number 3. Okay? And Ethan will be putting together something here more comprehensive. Okay. Stakeholder engagement. Each district plan shall be developed by the superintendent in consultation with the school committee. Okay? You guys are going to be really involved in this. We're also going to be looking at parents, relevant community stakeholders, including but not limited to special education, English learner parent advisory councils, school improvement councils, and educators within the district. So we are going to make this so inclusive that that DESE is not going to be able to come back and say anything about, except for tell us what a great job that the Brockton has done. Okay. So again, we're not looking, stakeholder engagement, we're not looking for an evaluation of the Brockton school system, but a compilation of information that we're going to get from all the stakeholders that we're going to be meeting with. Okay, and a series of meetings have been already put together, and let me show you what we've actually put together so far. Okay, the superintendent had met with the NAACP, and so that's all done. Mayor Sullivan's listening tour, which got grave reviews. Okay, meeting with the school committee with you guys tonight. The superintendent is meeting with the councilors at large tomorrow. I got an invitation from, I believe, Councilor Farwell. And tomorrow, I'm going to be addressing the Community Schools Advisory Board. I had the pleasure of being elected as chairman of the advisory board for community schools, so I'm going to be working with them, and I'm going to show them the same presentation that I'm showing you tonight. That is another outreach, because we have a bunch of schools that will be there and stakeholders that will be there too. And so those of you who have to be there tomorrow night, Tony, you will hear this again, and Judy, you'll hear it again. So, but you may be able to chime in on some of the stuff. Then the superintendent is going to be meeting with all Brockton Public Schools employees at the auditorium at 4 o'clock on the 13th. Superintendent's presentation to the city council. Teacher forum at the elementary schools.
One more.
Pardon me?
There's 2 teacher forums.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting to that.
That's over the next page?
It's on the next page. There we go. That's why I'm doing the PowerPoint, Mr. Superintendent. And then the superintendent's presentation to the Chamber of Commerce. Okay, and then here's the other one that you were looking for. And on February the 27th, teacher forum for middle schools and alternative high schools in the Red Cafeteria. So on a March 3rd, we're going to be looking for feedback from school committee, and because I think we're going to be talking about this at the retreat, which is on February the 29th. And then on March the 17th, the school committee should sign off on the Student Opportunity Act, but I think the superintendent wants to address that with you. I don't know if you're going to do that tonight, or you are going to do that tonight, because we actually might be able to help us out a little bit with that. So I'll save that for the superintendent to, and then finally, we're done. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to entertain any thoughts. But just so that you know, again, this is a snapshot, and what you saw here was a series of slides that really didn't go into great detail because we're still working.
Yeah, so the important thing to know is we tried to put up there what the district is already doing with evidence-based programs, but as far as developing the plan, there's a lot of work to do. We're planning, obviously, the teacher forums, the staff forums, the community forums. Kim and I will do the teachers forum, and actually, there'll be working groups. So teachers will go into working groups and probably focus on the 8 areas of the evidence-based programs, and then we will compile those, put those into like minutes, and then those will all be used to help drive our plan as well. That's a big part of the stakeholders, and we'll look at, like what Mr. Bath listed up there tonight, is things that we're already doing, programs that are already used, approved by the Department of Education, so that it's important that those get into the plan, because the DESE wants you to see that you're already using programs that are recommended by them and that are already proven by them and against evidence-based. But as far as building what we going forward, there's still a ton to go into this. So it's also taking into account what bilingual parents are saying, what parents of special education students are saying, what, you know, and all other parents that we'll have. So we're going to have a lot of community forums as well, and we'll take into consideration, obviously, the city council, the mayor, and the school committee, but there is a ton of work to do and a ton of information to gather. So somehow between now and April 1st, we'll have to figure out how to put that all together. So Kim will be spending a lot of time with the executive team and with us to try to figure this out from obviously the teacher's standpoint, but we also will have paraprofessionals involved and MTAs, and so that's part of this whole plan. But we wanted to make it clear that there are a lot of things that we're doing with the Department of Ed now, and that's why we wanted to put those up there, because it's important to show them that we're already doing some of these things and spending money on these things, and it's important to show that this new money will help us expand, and we'll have to select, obviously, some other evidence-based programs that will go into that, and those will be selected by pretty much what we get from all our stakeholders when we finally put it all together. So there's a lot to do in a very short period of time.
Right, and the other reason why I didn't go into the financing of this, because the 3-year plan does need to be financed and show some form of sustainability, and that's going to rest with Aldo. Aldo is going to address all of that, because like I said, it's way above my pay grade, but I think one of the things that we have to consider in putting in this plan is how we're going to sustain it, because you're already doing a sustainability study anyway, so how we're going to kind of work that all into this. But the superintendent is right, there's still a lot more work to be done. So, you guys have anything? Okay, do you have any questions? I've got my panel. Okay, so get your Jeopardy questions out.
Well, first I wanted to thank you, Richard, for staying involved. You know, it was great working with you when you were on the committee. So it's nice to have your experience and expertise involved at this point again. So I appreciate that, and all the administrators who were involved in putting this together, because I know you guys have there's a lot of work to be done in a short amount of time. And by the way, to your point about DESI math, I mean, I've been trying to figure out DESI math for, going into 5 years now. So if you figure it out, let me know.
No, so are they. So. But that's really, I just wanted to thank all of you who have already started the groundwork on this. I know it's early in the process, and there's a lot to do by April 1. They took 2 weeks away from you and didn't give it back anywhere. So I appreciate everything you guys are doing.
And I just want to say, as much as I appreciate Mr. Bath's praise, there are a lot of other people that are involved in this because, as the superintendent mentioned earlier, some of the programs that we're identifying are all really connected to work that we've been doing in the district over a number of years. And so when we look at a resource like science, and we're thinking about middle school science, we've adopted a new science resource this year. It's Amplify for grades 6 to 8. And we really did use a Department of Ed process for identifying that resource and implementing it. For instance, we looked at Ed reports, we've looked at Curate, and those are department-developed resources that inform districts as far as what the ratings are of certain resources that that vendors are kind of putting out there in marketing, but they're actually going through the process of rating them for us before they even come to the district, which is really helpful for us. And so others as well. When we talk about science, we're looking at a math resource this year, already vetted by Ed Reports, already vetted by Curate, which is the Massachusetts internal rating system, and Ed Reports is national. So we're using all of those resources that they're putting out there. And as I said earlier, maybe not clearly enough, is the department's doing a lot of really good work for us in doing some real front loading to prepare us for this kind of work. So we are appreciative of again, opportunities like today and tomorrow.
That's why it's important that with the things you saw up there, we have to show the department that we've already been spending money on these things. So that just all this new money isn't on, all these new shiny objects and things that we haven't been working on. We have been working on their evidence-based programs, and we've been involved in not only this, we were involved in, what's the district when we worked together that came up with the intervention program? I'm losing what that's called. We're working on the middle school schedule now.
We're working.
What's the name of the team that we've worked with on Kim? The district capacity project, like that, those things will be listed so that the Department of Ed, that will be in the plan so they know that the district capacity project, which Mr. Michello worked on, I think 4 years ago, that came up with the model at the George School. We've continued that. We came up with the intervention program. This year it's working on the middle school schedule. So those are the things, there's not only, we listed a few up there, but it's important to know there's a lot of things we'll list in this plan that we've done in conjunction with the union, in conjunction with, the executive team, and our principals, our directors. I mean, the things that, so when we're reading through this, I'm like, we have to come up with things that we've already been doing. And then what we're going to be doing moving forward, obviously, is it involves all the stakeholder meetings that we're having. So that's the part that we have to show.
So when we're looking at math resources and science resources, ELA resources, we're really depending on not only the department, but teacher feedback. So our teachers are out there piloting these resources, and they're giving us feedback about how those resources are working for them in the field with their students.
There's a point that I'd like to make. It's a funny point for me to make because I'm basically praising my bosses now, but here it goes. They do deserve credit. Mike and June have been very clear on this. You put the student need in the center. This is the Student Opportunity Act. That's what we're going to invest in. And the reason we're trying to get all this feedback from all these different stakeholders is to understand what are the student needs. First year, you may not be able to capture all of them. That's why it's a 3-year plan, and it really does simplify things. What's the problem in Brockton? We need to make sure our ELA, our math, and our science, because our kids are going to be measured on this. We have to make sure that we're getting our kids to meet the grade level expectations. We have to make sure that this happens in a way that makes sense to us. And as Mr. Bath pointed out, you know, we remember Dr. Zakowitz's, you know, mantra, what gets monitored gets done. So if you don't include something like the arts, it's very easy to slide on that. Well, that's a strength of ours. We don't want to take away a strength of ours. We want to build on our strengths. So kids at the center, that's the Student Opportunity Act. And that really, you know, when Mike and June sort of laid that down, it was really easy to follow after that.
And I just think, again, just thinking about pre-K being here and pre-K expansion as a priority for us, and many of you were on the school committee and voted to roll back that kindergarten date. And I know you remember that one of the commitments that we made was that we would, as best as possible, we would offer more seats for those 4-year-olds that were impacted by rolling that date back. So that's part of this plan, so that when you think about stakeholder engagement, even though it may have been 2 years ago that we did that, that's still part of planning moving forward. So as funding comes in, that's a commitment that the district made over 2 years ago, offering more pre-K seats, so that our hope is that every 4-year-old that was impacted by that rollback date will eventually have opportunity to have a full-day pre-K seat in the Brockton Public Schools. So that's obviously connected to funding.
The one thing that DESE did allow us to do, and this law does allow us to do, it allows us to go back over the plan and tweak it as needed. So as we go through this, if there are adjustments that have to be made, we're allowed to do that over the next over the next 3 years. So that was the one really good point. I mean, that really came out at me, that we were able to go through this and tweak it and make adjustments as we needed to.
I just had one question, Richard. You mentioned the date, April 1st, at 12 noon, like 11:59.
11:59, that's it.
PM.
What happens if you're not, what happens if you're not ready? Are we
We have no
penalized?
choice.
We'll be ready.
No, it's,
No funding at all?
No.
no, we're going to be ready. It's as simple as that, because you have to, because it's the law.
Well, it just seems like a ton of work to be done.
Oh, yeah.
There's no time to do it.
No, well, we don't
I
sleep.
still can taste it. It hasn't been good.
Thank you for recognizing that, Mr. Sullivan.
No, it'll be done.
There is a ton of work, but yet, I got to tell you, with the team that's assembled here, sans me, because I just came in the last couple of weeks, but these guys have done yeoman's work, and June's team, and it's there. We just need to, you know what it is? It's like it's like a jigsaw puzzle. Okay, so what we did tonight is we did the outline. So now what we have to do, we have all the pieces. We just now need to make sense of a picture that we're going to build. Yeah, there's a lot of work that has to be done,
Well, this is.
but welcome to education.
And this is like a plan that's we've been planning for this for a number of years, right? So we know what we need to do. And so it's not like we're planning from scratch, right? We know where our weaknesses are in the district, and so we're prepared to respond to those weaknesses.
I would suggest, Tim, that Brockton is, I would suggest that we are ahead of the game with versus some of the other districts because of the work that's been done here. I know it's a stretch, and I know anybody watching this say, well, in other districts, this is Brockton.
And we do appreciate that, Mr. Bath.
We
But
do.
again, today at MTSS, and I know tomorrow, a lot of what we've been hearing as a team are things that we're focused on as a district. So we really are not off track. We have a lot of good people who are involved in this planning process, and people have really been invested in the work here. And so even today at MTSS, there wasn't one breakout session that any of us went into where we heard something that was brand new to us. It was just really validating the direction of our work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.
So as you know, there's a ton of work and a ton of information we need to gather, and then as we move forward, we'll give you updates. Obviously, we'll have subcommittee meetings throughout March. And we'll have all the stakeholders come together, not only the executive team, but principals, Kim, with the work we've done with the teachers. So we're going to have to basically put all of that together and come up with one plan. So again, tonight we pretty much showed you what we've been doing in the district and things that are up there, but this has got, this is probably only 5% of what we have to do going forward. And we got a long way to go, so.
Short time.
But we'll definitely get it done, but there's a lot of work to do and a lot of people to evolve, so. And it could be also, moving forward, there's things that could go in the plan, but things that we have to work on, like I talked about earlier, professional development, the finance subcommittee meeting, that, if we want to change how we do professional development, which I think we need to consider, that would obviously involve talks with the union, which would involve you. So, but that doesn't have to be done by April 1st. That can obviously be done going beyond that date, because it would take some time to work that out. But there'll be some suggestions that I make at the retreat for that, and then we can vet that out as we go forward. Yep. So that's pretty much takes us to items to and then the budget update is pretty much, that's pretty much it. As you know, that we thank you first for allowing us to replace any retired teachers coming up in between now and June. The 23 we know about, and any others that are unexpected between now and then, that you're allowing HR to now start the recruiting process. This is the earliest we've done this, and I can't remember when. It's been long since, I was probably still up here at the high school. So I appreciate that. So Dr. Moran, Ashley is already scheduled to go to some career fairs and start recruiting. It also gives, and it's very important for this, Kim and I met with the teachers at North, and there's a lot of anxiety, obviously, of North closing. And there's teachers there that have been there for, 25, 30, 35 years, and they're a little anxious of where they're going to be next year. But it gives them the opportunity to know this early. The last few years, they wouldn't know until August where they were going. So now, obviously, those teachers would get the first choice of what they're certified for these open 23 positions, any others that come open. So that's very important, too, for those teachers to know where they're going sometime within the next month. And it really helps people to know that's when their school's closing. So I appreciate that you took that vote last time. And obviously, as we move forward and figure out how to, disperse the $8 million, there'll be more staff coming, and we'll try to get ahead of the game as far as recruiting. So, that's pretty much the report that I have for tonight, so I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. And there's no items to refer to the subcommittee?
I have one question, Mr. Mayor.
Sullivan.
Mr. Thomas, you talked about the virtual high school. Is that a option still there, or is it a dead?
Yeah, you voted to approve. Now we're just waiting for, we met with the fire department and the building department. Obviously, the motion was we had to get the occupancy permit. So there's some things that have to be done. We talked about the handicap bathroom. So once those modifications are made, the fire department and the building department will give us an occupancy permit. But until we can get that, obviously, that's probably a good month or month and a half away. We're just waiting for the architect to finish exactly tell us what we have to do.
I was just wondering, like the people at home, nobody really knows where it is. You want to even talk about that?
It's the old Rockland Trust on the corner of Oak and North Main, which is right in front of the Waite Funeral Home. I don't know the exact, across from Harbor One, exactly. So across from the old Howard School, that would be an online center. We talked about bringing students back who are on homeschooling, doing online testing, and also we replace our home teaching, which now students get very limited time on home teaching. It would be much more time. and the online center, so we're probably at least another month or two away before we can take occupancy of that building, so. But it's a great plan, and hopefully we'll be up and running soon.
I just thought it was a great idea.
No, I appreciate that. So it should be,
And I was
should get
hoping it
moving.
didn't fall apart.
nope, not at all.
Thank you, Mr.
No, we
Sullivan.
appreciate the fire department working with us and in the building department, Mr. Pluff. So they've been working closely with us, told us what we needed, everything that needed to be done, so we can make sure we can, be in there.
Yep, we'll get it squared away, absolutely. Any other questions for the superintendent?
Can we just get clarification on some of the dates in March? Because the week that Desi's here is going to be a pretty busy week. Is March 3rd one of those days? Because that's election night. I thought I
Yep.
saw March 3rd
That's
somewhere.
one of the nights, yeah. Desi's here. They're not, you don't have to see Desi that day. You have them on the 4th.
Perfect.
The 3rd is a Tuesday. That is a school committee meeting, though. Tuesday night is a school committee meeting. Yeah, it's voting, yeah.
Elections.
Yeah, but it's a Tuesday school committee meeting. It's the first Tuesday of the month. It's the presidential, correct? All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
It's the presidential primary, yeah. So that date wasn't moved for the school committee, so we do have a meeting that
Going to
night.
have early voting as well at the Westgate Mall through Cindy in the elections. So I'll get some more information both for the primary and also for the general. So I can get all that information as well.
Yeah, but the night that you have the 4th, so
I usually work for City Hall that night, so that's clear.
okay,
So I will not be at that meeting on
Okay.
the 3rd. But, and then we can just eventually start discussing getting the voting out of the schools.
yeah, she's coming in. She's going to come to a safety and security subcommittee meeting after this election to talk about that. We did talk about earlier that Lieutenant Vidaro is going to, he's going to get an extra detail officer at every polling place. We obviously have one that's assigned just to the polls. That's the law. But last election that we had, when school wasn't closed, we actually had, we added an extra officer, and they were there, and the principal could ask them to help with traffic, be in the building for safety and security. It really did help a lot, and, teachers brought us concerns about, again, everybody's concerned with, we spend so much on safety and security. We made all these new entrances where you have to go up to a window, and then obviously we have, the polling in, the schools are open, but again, we do our best to make sure there's an extra officer there and people are not getting through the building, so, but we do have to talk about it, no question.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the superintendent? Seeing none, we'll move on to the agenda. It's number 6, unfinished business. Anything before us on that? None? Mr. Sullivan?
Just one question to the vice chair. You were talking about February 17th canceling and move. Oh, okay. Disregard.
It's all right. We'll go on to number 7, new business. Mr. D'Agostino.
Yeah, so there were two items I wanted to bring up under new business. One is the superintendent and I had a conversation about moving our March 17th meeting to, I believe it was the 20, I think we had tossed around moving it to just a week to the 24th. This will give a little more time to the folks working on the Student Opportunity Act submission, time to get that ready for us, because otherwise we need to vote on it on the 17th, so we're kind of taking 2 weeks out of that process that Desi already took 2 weeks out of. So if we could move that to the 24th, if everybody would be okay with that, give them an extra week to work on it.
I just asked him, Mr. Superintendent, if he was changing it because it's St. Patrick's Day, and he assured me that that's not why he's changing it, so duly noted on the record.
So basically, as you know, we're 2 weeks late getting the template, and then the way our meetings run, obviously that the 3rd and the 17th, and now we're hamstringing us even more by saying that, okay, we're going to take 2 weeks off of the April 1st date and cut us short by another 2 weeks, and now we're in a situation where I don't have time to get all the stakeholder engagement, because there's going to be meetings, and there's going to probably people want to do follow-up meetings, so, for us to then have the 17th, because you have to vote on this at a regular school committee meeting. So the option was the 24th, or the last week, which is the 31st.
Right, which we were concerned that it would appear to be an 11th hour thing if we did it on the
if we did it on the
31st. and, you
31st.
know,
We wanted to move to the 31st, but then we didn't want to look like that we were doing it on the 11th hour of, so,
I could do it on the 31st. I already booked something on the 24th because I knew we didn't have a meeting that night.
yeah. I mean, I don't really see an issue with the 31st, as long as we're getting the input we need from the, I think maybe we can have, obviously, a couple subcommittee meetings in the meantime. Desi's just gonna look at you submit it by April 1st. I don't think they're gonna care about when the vote's taken, but again, we're put in this position they put it in the law, April 1st, and then the template just came out last week. 2 weeks later than we expected, and now they want something by April 1st from a district that has to do the long form, which is us. We have to do the long form, which involves a ton of things. And a lot of, and the thing that people have to understand, not only we have to, we should, and we need to get the community, the involvement of the employees, the teachers, and the community, and the parents. So, again, it's if they ever came back and said, well, you waited to the 31st, well, we have a lot to do
took
here. in
2
the
weeks
district.
away from us and gave us the long form.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, if the 31st works better for everybody, I'm fine with that, whichever
Do we
works
have
for
to
the
do it at
committee.
the school committee meeting, or can we?
I believe it's gotta be an official vote, yes. I think it has, that's what I was throwing around that as well, so I do believe it has to be at a full school committee meeting vote.
Do we want to do
Because
the
they will
31st?
ask for certified, almost like how you do the MSBA, they do ask for a certified vote.
What's to prevent us from doing it at the 18th or the 9th? Why do we have to wait why does it have to be a Tuesday night?
It doesn't have to. Nope.
I'm just saying, I mean, if you.
I mean,
don't wanna
I would
do it-
like if we could do a later date. You have my phone.
I mean, you
If
want
we're
to
gonna
do,
move the school, it doesn't have to be a Tuesday, but.
No, I was just, because we always usually book Tuesday nights, so I was just trying to make it easy
I mean,
for
would we
everybody.
want to go like the 26th or something? I mean,
I'm fine with a Thursday, the 26th, too. I mean,
that
I'm open.
doable for everybody?
I'm fine, that's fine with me. I just, again,
Do that.
Thursday nights, we always book.
All right, so if we
Check with the
can,
mayor's schedule?
Mary,
We
you
need to
wanna-
check with your.
We're good.
all right. So do we need an actual motion and a vote on that?
Yes.
Yes, to move
Where are we moving to, the 6th?
the 26th, March 26th, which is a Thursday night.
Entertain a motion on the date change.
So I make a motion to change the school committee meeting that is currently scheduled for Tuesday, March 17th. Have that on, what did you want, Thursday, the 26th?
So form of a motion, is there a second?
Second.
It's a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed, that carries.
And that will be at the same time, 7 o'clock.
7 PM here, same location. Thank you. Mr. D'Agostino, you had another one?
I did. Second item, I just wanted to make sure that we all had it in our calendars, because I know there was a lot of back and forth, and I appreciate all of you working with me on that. And I want to also mention I appreciate the council president, Shirley Asak, for working with me on that as well. We're trying to coordinate 11 schedules of the city council, the mayor, and our 7 schedules. So March 11th at 7 PM at City Hall and the council chambers, we'll have a joint session of the school committee and city council to fill the currently open Southeastern Regional School Committee seat. I want to make sure that got out of everybody's calendar with the final date and time.
If there is any citizen that would like to be considered, he or she should send a letter of interest with a resume to the city clerk's office, 45 School Street, second floor, City Hall.
Great. All right.
And I'll mention again, the retreat, the school committee retreat is on Saturday, the 29th, starting at 8:30 at West Middle School.
All right. I am good.
Members of the committee, I just want to let you know, today I had an unbelievable experience. I visited Principal Cindy Burns and the students at the Keith Frederick Douglass Champion Black History Month exhibit, where the students showcased a subject matter of either a celebrity or historical figure. It was unbelievable. I was there for an hour. I mean, these kids spent a lot of time, great artwork. It was awesome. I wanted to share that with you. And I also publicly want to thank Mr. Bath for what he's continuing to do. He's a great example of a public servant. If you look at Richard, not just the schools, not just the Council on Aging, not just the War Memorial, but the Charity Guild as well. So I don't know how you juggle the balls you do, Richard. We are thankful that you do, so keep it up. Thank you. Anything else relative to new business? Seeing none, we'll move on. There's no executive session tonight. And now the last and final agenda item is an adjournment. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Sullivan. Who's second? Mrs. Sullivan? Oh, Mr. D'Agostino. All in favor? All opposed? It carries. Have a good night. Be safe.